Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, you caught me when I was not on this. I was looking at something else. Oh, welcome to a Tuesday Simply Spooky show, where we are tonight talking about the hairy man himself, Jamie Parker. No, I mean, hi, Jeremy.
Hi,
Hey,
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
The boss is in the house.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Whoop, 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 whoop for Jeremy. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Can you tell we like Jeremy?
We do.
Yeah, we don't like many
Usually do.
people, but we do like Jeremy.
Good lad.
He is a good lad. We have no Dan this evening
Good
as
night.
he is off car shopping. So we have Bigfoot Hairy Parker, Lois, and Spooky Sasquatch Viv, and we may or may not have somebody joining us in a little while. He may or may not. He's very well versed in the cryptid thing. So we might be lucky and get Nick Muley on. We'll see. We'll see.
I really hope he does come on because I've got the biggest respect for that guy. I could just sit and listen to him all night.
Oh, he's lovely. Honestly, if we want to know anything about cryptids, Nick's your man.
Nick's your lad.
Yeah, Tom Kohler, Crystal Davis Kohler, they're talking about Bigfoot. Woohoo! I tell you, he's doing the rounds, isn't he, Bigfoot? It's a very interesting topic, and he's coming back into the forefront again. And even here over in the UK, there's been sightings here over in the UK, so we might discuss some of those. Dan had all the info of the UK sightings, but I know a little bit, so we might talk about some of those. If Dan gets back in time from car shopping, he said that he will come on. So he may or may not join us. But
I thought he was away looking at mobility scooters.
he needs one.
Aye, definitely.
Poor guy. Bless him. No, we love Dan.
I
But
really love Dan.
if he can get on, he said that he'll come on a bit later. Yeah. So William says he is watching while on the phone call, so he can't hear us. Let's wave to William.
Hey,
Oh, William.
Do this to him. Woo!
man.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks. I'm just sharing out so they look interested.
Oh, okay. I'll hold the fort while you do that. So Jamie, Bigfoot. What do you think of Bigfoot? Hi, Kelly.
It's quite
Hey, Kelly.
don't know really. How I got interested in Bigfoot. There was a show when I was growing up, and I reckon when Lois was growing up as well. It was an American TV show. I can't remember what it's called. Dan will know. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's what obviously got me a bit more livened with Bigfoot. And then the sightings and that when on the Discovery Channel and stuff, and that was like, this is something, because is it real or is it? But then you think it is, because obviously they've got the footage, they've obviously got the his paw and his hands in concrete like you've got, so
I've got it on the wall.
It's got to be something there, same like the Loch Ness and stuff like that. And there's sightings and there still is sightings. I saw the other day that there was a sighting in Florida in the Everglades. But that was the what did I say before we come on?
Skunk ape.
That's the skunk ape. So, and then I saw something on YouTube the other day. The noise that he makes. The guys were saying they were just walking out in, I can't remember, it is one of the parks, and they thought it was a bear at first, but then they said it wasn't a bear because it doesn't make that sound. It sounded like a cry, like it was crying out for something.
Let me see if I can find. I'll see if I can find the sound.
And then they shot shot the guns to see if it'll go away, like to distract it, but it come closer, but there was no sighting of it. Well, I just think it's really interesting. You know, I'd love to go to America and have a hunt kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. I think what
For them.
intrigues me about, you know, Bigfoot is when you watch Harry and the Hendersons, they look so cute.
Yeah.
And it would be that, you know, and I imagine there'd be a Bigfoot to look like that, but oh, look at his eyes.
Mm.
I think really I would love to see one. I think there's so much out there that there's still to be discovered.
Yeah.
Well, I went to the North American Bigfoot Centre that's owned by Cliff Barrickman, and he was, as you know, he was on Finding Bigfoot. And this happened purely by accident, and I'll tell you for why. I went to visit my good friend William in Oregon, as I do, and we was having a whale of a time. And he said, "What do you want to do? Like when you're here, is there anything you want to do?" And I said, "Dan has said I've got to go to this North American Bigfoot Centre. Apparently it's a museum." So we looked it up. He says, yeah, we'll go. Never Finding Bigfoot in my life. Went there, walked around the place, met Cliff Barrickman. I didn't know who he was. I bought a Bigfoot plaster cast of a foot, one found in Oregon, and he signed the back to Dan, Cliff Barrickman. Went around the museum, and from that time of going around the museum and looking at the exhibits and the things that they had in there, it had me completely hooked. And ever since then, I mean, I've been back to the museum now 3 times. While I was there, Nettie's in the house. Net's in the house.
Hello.
Whoop, 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 whoop. But when I've been back each time, I mean, I've seen something new and something different. Either I've missed it from the first time I went. The last time I went, they put a new exhibit in. So they had Bigfoot nests. You know, they do the nest and they lay in it in the forest. So
Yeah.
they'd reconstructed a nest, and it was big, massive to start with.
It's
And
a
they
bed,
said,
isn't it?
yeah, but they had to chop it down. It was only half the size. So the nest they've got in there is half the size. And it is huge. But what I did find amazing was, while I was there with some friends, I was looking at CDs. I wanted to sort of get a sound, a Bigfoot sound that somebody had recorded when they were out squatching in Oregon or Washington or wherever they go. And I bought a CD. And they said, "You need this CD. It's called the Sierra Sounds." And these sounds were found, were recorded by Ron Moorhead. Absolute legend, this guy, Ron. Ron Moorhead and Albert Barry. But I know Ron Moorhead. He's the guy, the name that I recognise. And he used to go up to a camp up in the Sierras in California, I believe. And that's when they were hearing these sounds. And I bought the CD. I listened to the whole thing. It's very dated because I think it was recorded in 1970 odd. And you can hear these creatures actually communicating to one another using a chattering. And it's very, very similar to like humans talking to one another, but not in our language.
Yeah.
From that, I was absolutely hooked. I don't know if I'll be able to play any of this for you, so you can hear it. Hang on, let me just... Can you hear this okay? They're trying to mimic the sounds. Do you hear that? It's like, what? The sounds that they're making.
Do you
I
think?
tell you,
Oh, sorry, when
amazing.
you go, Mrs.
I think amazing, absolutely amazing. It just blows me out. It blows me away. Mind blowing.
Do you think us as humans,
A
right? I
community
know
off
that
northern Vancouver.
the can be able to interact with Bigfoot in the sense that we can. I mean, we can teach monkeys how to do human type things, but try and get the Bigfoot to interact with you in like a human form, like you're trying to talk to it. I wonder if it if I spoke to it and asked it a question, would it understand what I was saying?
I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. They seem to have all these different theories that it's interdimensional and telepathic communication and cloaking is the thing. Seeing the white lights in the sky before you actually see the Bigfoot, and there's so many theories about it. Who knows? I don't think anybody knows, do they? I mean, we've only got the words of others.
Hello.
Whoop whoop whoop! Chantel in the house. So yeah, I have no clue. I mean, I've spoken to people that have physically experienced a Bigfoot. So when I say experience the Bigfoot, one guy was out working in a forest area. He's an archaeologist. He was there with engineers. They were there to do a job in the middle of nowhere. And then all of a sudden the trees started shaking violently, not just by one. There was 2 or 3 of them dotted around, all shaking violently at the same time. And it wasn't wind doing it. It was them showing their anger, the fact that they were there doing what they were doing with this work they were engineering.
I have seen that with the trees when they shake the trees really violently.
Yeah, wood knocking was going on.
Yeah.
And the manager in charge, she was reduced to tears. So it was the archaeologist's job to sort of keep her calm. Let's just get the job done as quickly as possible and let's get out of here. Let's get the job finished. Don't interact with it. Let's get the job finished and let's just go. It was quite nerve-wracking, he said, and I couldn't show any fear because otherwise she'd break down. He said, we just needed to get the job done. So there is that element of, would you be scared that you wouldn't want to communicate with it?
Of course.
You know, that might not be friendly because over in the States, I think people are just wanting to point a gun at them and kill them because they think if they can produce a dead Bigfoot, it's going to bring them fame and fortune.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I don't think it is.
That's what really bothers me, and I know this is not relevant to Bigfoot, but I kind of have that theory when, like, we all remember Hombre, the gorilla that protected his child.
Yeah.
Now, it's through the parents' neglect that the child got through and down in.
Yeah.
And the poor thing got shot, and all it was in was protecting that child. And I kind of think, in the same theory with a Bigfoot, I don't think that's right.
No.
Like,
I've heard lots of stories that, and there's lots of stories going on about YouTube because I did ask Cliff Barrackman. Now he said to me, bless him, he's such a nice man. He said there are some stories on there that could be. He said, but there are a lot of them on there on YouTube that are really far-fetched and he can't justify them. He says no. I asked him because I sat and listened to a story back in 18 or whatever it was when some loggers were out in Oregon. They were in the forest logging. They took the whole families out there. They were out there for months. And a couple of guys went out into the forest, encountered a Bigfoot, and apparently they got ripped apart. They got torn from limb to limb. Now, they heard the gunfire go off, and then these men just disappeared. When they sent out search parties eventually to go and find them, they found them scattered all over the place. Now, my views on this is, if that did happen, obviously the loggers have shot at this thing and it's reacted, and too right, you know. And if these people have been torn from limb to limb because they've tried to shoot a Bigfoot, well, good, you got what you deserved, in my case, in my opinion. But that's just me.
Yeah.
But there's stories about the military, that people that have come out now because they're able to talk, because the military have kept people silenced, where the military have gone out and gunned down whole families. Now, I listened to something recently about this guy talking. He was in one of the vehicles that opened fire on a family of Bigfoots, as a mother, father, and the two smaller ones. And I cried like a baby listening to that. Now, whether that is a true story or not, we don't know, because the military do what military want to do. And you know, this guy was saying that once they'd killed these Bigfoots, because the smell came about and it was terrible, that they had to get hospital care afterwards, 4 of them, and they were taken to a hospital but put in separate rooms away from each other, and he never saw his 3 fellow what would you call them, army people. He never saw them again. You know, because not long after that he came out of the military, but he was sworn, obviously signed the Official Secrets Act.
Yeah.
But I just think it's disgusting. Why would you need to gun down something that's not bothering you just because they're there? You know,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
It's crazy,
I mean,
isn't it? Really?
It's same for really any animals. I mean, if I was a Bigfoot and I had guns pointed in my face, damn right I would be trying to attack them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what the hell? It's like, seriously. I know when I've been reading, because since I've took up with you guys, I've became interested in the Bigfoot. You know,
Do you know what,
interested in the research.
Lois? The amount of sightings in Scotland.
Aye.
Oh my God.
I was actually quite shocked. You know, I used to think it, like Parker was saying at the beginning, when you used to watch Harry and the Hendersons, used to just think it was an American thing, but it seems to be dotted across the world.
Dotted around, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're called different things in different places around the world. In Norfolk here, they're called the woodwoes, or the green man of the forest, or the green man of the forest. You know, it's been referred to as that, but it is the same as Sasquatch. Or I don't know what you would call it in Scotland. It might have a special name that's come down through the ages, and you might call it something.
A wee laddie.
I don't know. Aye, the wee ginger lad.
Yeah, you can tell they're Scottish because they're gingers.
Aye, I know. You know, that's what used to amuse me. Well, when we talk about Harry and the Hendersons, you see, in Scotland, that'll be the ginger, the wee.
And he's tartan kilt and his sash and everything, and his hat is
that wouldn't surprise me with a can of Iron Brew.
They were like, move over, Nessie. Here comes big Bigfoot.
Tell me about it. Forget Nessie. Why would you want to look at Nessie when you've got the Bigfoot?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, in England, let's bring it to England. There has been sightings this year. Quite a lot of sightings, actually. Let's just call it in Yorkshire. And these are credible people that have been sighting what they are describing as a Bigfoot in like dog walkers, husband and wife, middle-aged, walking their dog, come across a Bigfoot. They immediately got their dog and hot-footed it back to the car and went back home. And of course, they've reported it. And other people had seen the same creature in the same area. And there was quite a few reportings this summer in this place in Yorkshire. Essex, which shocked me, actually.
I was going to say Essex is posh.
Essex? Posh? Parker lives in Essex. Hi, bring that.
I love saying that because obviously Towie and that. I
Oh,
always say Essex
no.
posh.
No, but Bigfoot has been sighted in Essex. There have been reports of Bigfoot sightings in some of the forest. I'm just going to say forest areas. I'm not going to say where, because it will just cause a stampede of people wanting to go to Essex and causing problems and issues. But yeah, there have been sightings in Essex this year of something that has been described as a Bigfoot. They've described the height, the size, the arms, everything matches the same as what they're seeing over in America. So that one really shocked me.
Yeah.
Because me and Dan had a big conversation about it. We also discussed the sightings in Norfolk. And there's a place in Norfolk, and this is over years, a period of years, people have been spotting this Bigfoot-like creature in this forest area in Norfolk, and it's in a particular spot, like area in Norfolk that this thing has seen. But nobody has produced any, what I would call, the casts, the footprints.
Yeah.
Which I find is weird, because if it's
weird.
there,
yeah,
and it's being seen, where are the casts? Why aren't people? Is it not a craze over here? Is it something that only the Americans think to do, or what? Because I wish that people over in the UK, if you do see anything, go and check it out and take your plaster of Paris kits. Let's make casts. Let's get this thing out there. Let's people realise that we do have our cryptics and we do have our Bigfoots as well as America. It's not just an American thing.
I think when you look at a lot of these things, I think it starts off in one country, and then like you say, the fascination, like America. Like, I'm fascinated a lot more in America with the paranormal side of things, because I think the places they've got over there. I mean, Scotland is great for the countryside and all its castles, but outside, I'm that wee girl that inside cries for, I don't want to see another goddamn castle. Give me something different. Give me like an asylum or something, on our behalf of.
But you see, in America, they all say that we're all spoilt when it comes to paranormal because we've got an older history. We go back further, and we have all the buildings are still standing, because Americans, they don't just knock them down and just rebuild whatever. But they're saying that our history is so rich and we are spoilt for choice. But I think people are not looking for Bigfoot because, one, they don't realise that it's there. Two, there's not been enough publicity about it over here. So if we had a British team on telly, go to Scotland looking for Bigfoot and their exploits and what did they find, I think we'd get more people going out in England looking at the cryptid side of things, which I think is a shame.
I mean, I can imagine saying to my partner, by the way, Stephen, I'm going out tonight. You going paranormal hunting? No, I'm going Bigfoot hunting. And he'd be like, what the hell? I know recently, actually, there's a guy, Adam Bird. He's like a Bigfoot enthusiast down in England. And he was out walking in Fresnay Nature Reserve? I think that's... Where is that in England? Is that Lancashire Woods?
Where's that? What's it called?
Could be.
Fresnay Nature Reserve. And he actually caught a picture, like a shadowy figure staring back at him in a photograph. And it does kind of look like a Bigfoot.
Might be a Lake District or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll send you guys a picture after the show. In fact, what I'll do is I'll actually put the photo up.
Put it up on here. Oh no, you're not on your computer. On your computer.
I don't know how to do it. It would need to be you that, if I send you the picture, because you're quite good with all the tech. I'm good at
honestly,
my show.
It's like the blind lead in the blind here. Honestly, unless I'm doing it all the time, I wouldn't know how.
Oh, William's listening to us now. Right, I'll look for
William.
this picture and I'll get sent you.
Mr. Becker! Woohoo! Now, Mr. Becker is there, and I know that Mr. Becker went squatching with a team of people that know about squatching, and he was actually lucky enough to see, I think it was two. Was it two from a distance? He was up high and he was looking down and he saw
Bigfoot?
the two. Yeah,
Oh,
and I think if William will tell us in the chat, he saw a family. Was it the babies, the mother and the babies, or something? I'm not sure, but William.
that was quite cool.
Yeah, and it's not William's thing really. It's something that he just wanted to experience, and he's experienced it. He's actually was lucky enough to see something.
Yeah.
Oh, he saw one, but he saw it 2 times.
Twice.
There we go. Yeah.
Fish.
Yeah. So how cool is that? Oh, the family was more telepathic. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, how cool is that? It's somebody that's not really sort of into their Bigfoot has gone squatching with a group of people, had a nice time, and actually got to see one. And I think there was somebody that had their stones thrown at them, as if to say, "Don't want you here. Go on, clear off." So throw stones. Yeah. But I'm hearing stories that come out of America that some Bigfoots are okay. They'll tell you that you're not welcome by doing like the light stone throwing thing. And other parts of the US where the Bigfoots are quite aggressive, and you could just be cycling past and you'll get a massive boulder come hurtling through the air trying to kill you, you know. So it's a strange one. You know, people are saying they're seeing them, they're red-headed or they're ginger-headed, they're very light, some are very dark, some are brown. Some just walk past and not bothered if you're there or not. They'll just keep going. Yeah. Yeah. So
I've sent you the picture of him. I've sent you like the original picture, and then I've like moved it in so that I could take a proper picture of it.
Okay, let's have a look.
Like 2 seconds and I'll be back, guys. I just hear my door. 2 seconds.
Okay. So let's have a look at this picture. Oh my God. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, guys.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
It's a bit distinct and a bit defined to it not to be something.
Yeah. He's still got the woolly.
The cone-shaped head, isn't it?
Yeah, cone shape and like the really rough, like twig-looking hair as well, isn't it?
This one's.
Lot of
I'll put that up there. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Okay, there. Let me just put it as close to the camera as possible.
And he's off. He's gone.
Knees are bent.
Yeah.
Just showing everyone the picture.
Yeah.
And then his arms.
I'll put the article in the.
His hands are swinging. His knees are bent.
Yeah. So I saw the famous, the film, the famous film of Bigfoot that's walking and the arms are swinging, that everyone's having an argument with, they're debating whether it's fake, whether it's real.
Yeah.
Now, in the North American Bigfoot Centre, they have the actual camera that it's called is it the Gimlin-Patterson footage?
Yeah.
They have the actual camera that was used to film that. Now, bearing in these guys were on horseback. It was all done very quickly. Pulled out this camera, and it's not a small handheld camera thing either. I can imagine this thing was quite heavy.
Massive, yeah.
And was able to shoot that. They have that camera in the museum. And I know that they've been studying the footage that's out there. Then the footage that's out there is not the original film. The original film has disappeared somewhere. They don't know where it is.
No.
So all they have is this grainy copy of the creature walking, swinging its arms. So they've now developed this technique that brings the grainy film footage together. They work on it to make it sharper so you can look at what it is you're actually seeing.
Yeah.
And from doing that recently, they have discovered in that Gimlin Patterson footage that the Bigfoot that walks past that they originally thought was a man or a male is actually female. And I find that quite interesting. And they actually, from markers and things, and from actually being there, they measured how tall this thing would have been, just over 7.5 foot. Just absolutely amazing. And the fact that she turns and looks straight into the camera. Oh my God. I just like, when I'm finding out all of this stuff when I was there and learning about that, I just thought, I can't dismiss it. The Sierra Sounds, seeing the Gimlin Patterson footage and seeing some of the casts that they've actually caught, like out in Kentucky. I'm just reading that myself. Oh my God.
I love Chantel.
Bigfoot Harry Parker. William says, I'm sure that the one I saw wanted me to see him because I knew I wouldn't tell anyone where they were. And that by seeing one, I'd be able to trust my telepathic conversations with them, including when they say they are interdimensional. Don't want proof that they exist because they don't want people coming to kill or capture them. Yeah, no, I agree with William. Like,
do you know?
So many people say they're interdimensional.
Do you know what memorizes me the most is it when people like talk about when they've seen Bigfoot and it actually looks them in the face. That memorizes me because I couldn't imagine like running into this thing and then it just looking at me.
I wonder if I've still got that. I was looking at it the other day. I don't know if I've still got it here. I picked up something from...
Sorry, I'm laughing at Chantel. She's hurt back with a lion.
Share it then.
Bigfoot hair. She's gone on about your hairy pecker.
That's right.
Then shouldn't that be Smallfoot, Harry Parker? Come on, honey, if I don't slag you in this show, then there's something seriously wrong with me.
So those been pictographs that they found in caves by the ancient American Indians. So here are some of the pictures. They're really hard to see unless you know what you're looking at. So here from, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, okay. So a family pictograph painted rock from left to right is the child hairy man, mother hairy man, and father hairy man. So let's see if I get that up there, if you can see it.
Oh wow, I can see it vaguely, aye. That's real cool. See, that's what I love about the when you think of the cavemen and things like that, when they used to paint me pictures.
Here's another one. So what they did was they drew what you were seeing there at the bottom. So if you imagine that, as you're looking here.
Yeah.
You see it?
Yep, I can see it.
And the best one, do you know what? Chantel's going to love this one. Is this pictograph. I don't know if you can see that very well.
Oh,
can you see that?
Yep.
So when you look at what they're trying to tell you, this has been drawn there.
That looks like a polar bear onesie.
That looks like something else to me, which I'm trying to keep clean.
I'm saying nothing. I'll just agree.
So, so that was that one. So yeah. Oh, there's one more. This is a cute one. There's one more. So here's a pictograph here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well. And they're saying what you're looking at there Is that
Oh, a wee pingu.
looks like it does look like Pingu, doesn't it? But these are supposed to be the hairy man pictographs that were painted, God, hundreds of years ago. So this Bigfoot phenomena. Oh, this is the one, Chantel. See if I'm going to telepathically tell you what I think I'm seeing.
I kind of do want to say what I'm seeing, but it's kind of remember where I am show.
Chantel knows what. Yes. So some of the pictographs that talk about with their storytelling and everything that they talk about Bigfoot or the hairy man, and I think the native. Yeah, William's put it politely. He's put it politely. Definitely spot on, William. But it goes to show you that this is not anything new. This is not a modern day thing. This has been going on for hundreds of years, and no doubt there are stories that have come down in folklore where the Native American Indian people were living in harmony with the hairy man or Bigfoots or Sasquatches or whatever you want to call them, until white man got involved and it all went wrong, and tits up for that. But yeah, what do you think of those pictures then?
Interesting.
Really kind of
Interesting.
See, I did do some homework. I have got lots of Bigfoot books that I tend to sort of flick through from time to time. I mean, I'm biased because of William, and I read a lot about the Oregon Highway and that sort of thing, which is really, really interesting.
But that's the original Bigfoot, though, isn't it? Oregon. He was seen in Oregon when he first.
I don't know. I really don't know. Now that's a question we can put to Cliff Barrackman.
That would be a good question. I know that there's the only clear picture that there's supposed to be about a British Bigfoot comes from Harwood Forest, in Northumberland. There's apparently supposed to be a really clear day picture of a Bigfoot. I mean, how do you explain that? Apart from some people might say it's a person in a costume, but why would they be running about the woods?
But this is a question that you're bringing up. How do we know they're not the American Bigfoots? If they're interdimensional, they could be coming over here when they're fed up with America and spending a bit of time in England, and then they get annoyed with England and pissed off because we're not noticing them. So then they'll go over to Japan. Or they might, I fancy a skiing holiday, so let's go over to the Himalayas and visit cousin Yeti.
Yeah, Yeti, yeah.
Do you know, as a Bigfoot myself, but I'm like a size 10.5 in feet, I would be pretty pissed off if nobody was noticing me. And then you come to Scotland and be wearing kilts and having iron brew.
Yeah. Iron brew and scotch.
You know what they say about hairy Bigfoot? He's got so it could be called Big Feet as it doesn't hop everywhere.
Do you know what? I want the same question, Andy, and I think it's called Bigfoot because the stride.
Yeah.
When we walk, we have feet sort of like one in front of the other, and they're fairly close, aren't they? But apparently, when they take a stride, they got 1 foot here, and the other one's about 6 foot over there. And so they just see that the imprint of the 1 foot. So maybe that's why the Bigfoot nickname.
And obviously the Bigfoot with the print, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I've never ever understood why they've called it the Bigfoot.
I don't know. Maybe you just saw 1 footprint.
That's it.
Hi,
Bonnie.
She's sweet, Bonnie, isn't
she? But I'll tell you what, guys, what I found today in a charity shop. I know this is so random. My sister got me it. I seen this really good book and I picked it up. and it's Dictionary of the Unexplained.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
I was like, I quite like this, and so I'll be sitting reading that. That'll be my thing to
I
read.
wonder if Bigfoot will be in there.
In fact, wait now 2 minutes, I'll go grab it and have a look.
Can do, yeah. Off she goes. But you know what I think is cool about Bigfoot is they try not to make him scary, and children find him so fascinating, don't they, Jamie?
Mm.
I mean, your son absolutely adores Bigfoot, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he absolutely loves him. You know, he watches the episodes on Discovery and stuff on YouTube. He loves it. He's got a toy of Bigfoot. He's got the white one, as you can hear him. But yeah, he just finds it fascinating. You know, he just can't believe there is something there. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we've been enjoying watching the kids with Bigfoot, how they react to Bigfoot. It is good.
He's got a page in a bit.
Hey, he made the book.
But yeah, he's on my reading, Chambers Dictionary of the Unexplained.
Brilliant.
And my cat's like, what the hell are you doing?
Fun
Because I've turned the light on. Hope you're all
to
cool.
a bit better. Oh.
Aye. Thank you, Vonnie.
Oh, the camp counsellors' stories around the campfire during outdoor school were pretty scary. I can imagine.
Yeah, I
Not
bet
just
they were.
Bigfoot,
I can imagine.
but being outside. I mean, I've watched guys in Kentucky, what they call the Squatchers. They'll go out in the middle of a forest, out in Kentucky, knowing that there are bears, mountain lions, and things that could eat you whole. And they'll go out squatching, sit round a campfire, you know, have a beer, go on a live, listen to the strange noises, and they just thoroughly enjoy it. I think it's a vocation, isn't it? Because you're out there in the middle of nowhere, you're camping, you're in deep forest. It's going to take you about 2 or 3 days to walk back to your car or where you've parked your car or whatever. That's if you don't get lost.
Yeah.
You know, so I think these people that do it, I take my hat off to them, you know.
Know what I've often wondered, and you guys will be able to answer this, but see, Bigfoot and Sasquatch, is that the same thing when people are talking? Or is that two different completely?
I think the ancient Native Americans, they used to call it something, and I can't remember what the name is. But there was some westernized American guy, the white guy. I can't even think of his name. He couldn't pronounce the name that the Indians called it. So he just called it Sasquatch. That's how he pronounced it. And right. I think the name stuck. I don't think it's in this paperwork that I've got here. Let me have I'll have a quick scan. I don't think I can find it. I think they're just talking about the pictographs, really. But yeah, apparently that's the story. So he couldn't pronounce the word that the Native Americans called it, so he called it Sasquatch, and the name just stuck. And it's been known as
a cool name, to be fair. I actually prefer that to Bigfoot, and I don't understand why. It's weird.
Well, it's known as quite a few things, like you have the skunk ape. Bigfoot. Oh God, what's that other one that I saw? Oh, the Indian one. There's an Indian one. They've all got different names no matter where you go. In Australia, what are they called in Australia? Yowies. They're called yowies in Australia. Oh, the man's there. He'll be able to tell us what they're called.
What's up, guys?
Oh, that killer.
How you guys doing?
How you doing, buddy?
All the better for seeing you, honey. How are you?
We're doing really well. How about you, Lois?
I just try to get rid of this chest infection.
Oh, okay.
Can I just say, Nick, a
Yeah.
big congratulations to you. You've conquered a milestone with your talk at the conference, and
Oh,
we
wow.
want to see more. We want to see more. We're going to get you over here, seriously.
Yes. Well, first off, I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. But yes, yeah, we'll make this happen. We'll definitely make this happen.
Yay!
Hey, woo! So we were talking about Bigfoot and Sasquatches and all the different names that they have, and I know that you know loads.
Yeah, I know a lot of them. It's funny because when I joined in, that's when you guys started talking. I'm like, and when you thought if I knew, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to answer this one.
Go on, go for it.
Crack
Go
on,
for
mate.
it.
Well, I mean, in addition to the names, I could also to give also a little bit of description. I mean, you mentioned earlier, like the skunk ape, for example, or Florida swamp ape, as it's sometimes called.
Yeah,
You know, it's
that's
seen
what I was
most
saying to Viv.
often. Yeah, it's usually seen most often in the southeastern United States. They're like little chimpanzees. Another version is the Yurins of China. It's a little bit more related to Bigfoot, perhaps. Now, one, of course, I think we're all familiar with is now the abominable snowman, in this case, the Yeti. Believe it or not, it's actually a much different creature. It's much more anthropoid. It goes down on all fours. And then you mentioned also the Yowies in Australia, which, again, has similar descriptions to the American version of Bigfoot, but one difference about it is it's actually more aggressive than a lot of other. Yeah, there are a few species of, Bigfoot and skunk ape type creatures that are. Everybody always believes that they're, most of the time they're peaceful.
Do you know why they're so aggressive? Because England sent their rubbish to America. Not America, to Australia. Because all those criminals, I mean, our prisons were getting pretty full, so they put them on ships and shipped them off to Australia on the Botany Bay, and they're all criminals out there. So I think the Yowie has to be a bit aggressive to keep them all in check, really, because they still got that criminal streak in them.
See, I've been absolutely busting all night, right?
Go.
Because I'm not really like, not clued up in the whole Bigfoot, right? Except watching Harry and the Hendersons. But my question was going to be, is Yetis and Bigfoot the same? And I felt a bit silly until you said it, and then I said that I didn't feel so bad.
Yeah, I was saying to Viv before we come on, Nick, there was a sighting in Florida in the swamps.
So probably most likely a skunk. Yeah, I was going to say that usually is the skunk ape that's normally seen. So
what's that Essex one that you told us about once? It's called Essex something, is it? Grass man?
Oh, it's the there's also the Ohio grass man out in Ohio. Yeah. And then but there's like, it seems like each state has like its own version of Bigfoot. So like I said, in Florida you got the skunk ape, in Ohio you got the Ohio grass man. In Illinois, like I said, we have our own down in the southern part of the state. We have the big muddy monster, or the Murfreesboro mud monster. Yeah, well, because there's actually a river that runs that's called the Big Muddy River, which is a tributary to the Mississippi River. It runs just outside of Murfreesboro. So, and then a few other examples I could really think of there's also something called Momo, which is down in Missouri, which is.
Oh, I love that name.
Well, what's funny is the name Momo is actually short for the Missouri Monster.
Oh,
and
Dave.
As you get closer down to the southern states, you actually start noticing some differences compared to the classic version. Two more examples I can think of is also the Fouke Monster, or the Southern Sasquatch in Fouke, Arkansas. And finally, not necessarily a Bigfoot, but does have kind of an appearance, is the Honey Island Swamp Monster down in Louisiana. So there's all these different versions. And the one thing I've noted, two differences about the classic one and the ones down the south, is that in the Pacific Northwest, like I said, a lot of them have that kind of benevolent, kind of harmless look to, behavior to them. even though they might look pretty intimidating still. But in the southern states, they're a lot more aggressive. We don't really know exactly what. Maybe it's because they're more territorial down in the south. And one other difference is, yeah.
Do you think like the migration and maybe interbreeding between the different types over the years might have something to do with that? Do you think?
It could very well be, because it's like you're dealing with two different groups of Bigfoots and skunk apes, and they might have a different kind of lifestyle, if you will.
Yeah.
Because they're probably so adapted to living in these areas. Because like in Pacific Northwest, you're talking about mountains and forests. I mean, that could spread over hundreds of square miles. They got plenty of area to live in without ever being seen, and most importantly, to avoid human interference. But in the South, there are some pretty rural areas, especially down in the swamp areas, but you're still kind of invading these creatures' territories, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why they're more aggressive down in the South.
There were stories that the ancient the Native Americans lived side by side at one point with the hairy man, and it was never an issue. And then all of a sudden, it turned and it all changed, and that's when they became elusive and stayed away, and because they didn't get the respect from man anymore, like the Native Americans used to give them. It's guns and fame and money and everything else came into play, didn't it? And things just seem to change, which I think is a shame.
Yeah, I mean, it's very likely that could be the case, but also, the other thing too, even before the Native Americans, probably lived side by side with these creatures, you're also, probably even our earliest ancestors and even previous, species into our human evolution may have coexisted, because there's one major, even though a lot of people are saying that, because I know there's a new theory now where people are saying that Bigfoot is supposedly maybe some kind of extraterrestrial interdimensional being, if you guys have heard. Well, I've still been sticking with the original origin, because there's one, in my opinion, there's one major theory, idea, and origin on the classic Bigfoot, Sasquatch, skunk ape, not only here in the United States, but for all around the world. And that is believed that it is believed that they are all descendants of a creature that's called Gigantopithecus, which was which was a giant ape that lived in India and China in the foothills of the Himalayas, that lived 2 million years around the same time Homo erectus and Homo sapiens lived, and may have been as large as 10 feet tall.
Yeah. William's just put a thing in here. I wonder if some of what we assume to be part of the Bigfoot population are other types of beings. Example, Nick's description of one that is more like a chimpanzee sounds like it could be what the natives called pukwudgie.
Yeah, pukwudgie. I've heard of that term.
A pukwudgie. Do you know what a wedgie is over here in England?
Pull your pants over your underwear over your head.
That's over here too.
Can you imagine giving a pukwudgie a wedgie?
Do you know, Nick? Honestly, I could hear you talk all night. I absolutely love you. You're an interesting guy. So here's a question, Nick, that I'm also curious about. Say when you have your different people, different continents, different countries, describing what is supposed to be Bigfoot, is there ever any descriptions that have changed the way that a Bigfoot is supposed to look like? What I mean is it people have how their own, almost their own folklore, big even though even though we know Bigfoot to be 7 foot. What I'm getting at is it maybe in other countries where they say no, it's about 6 foot, or it looks like this, it looks like that. If that makes sense to you, Nick?
No, I totally get it. Actually, you're saying if there's any differences compared to in different countries and different continents. Surprisingly, there hasn't been. The only kind of differences I've ever really have found in aside from the behaviors that they make is there might be some where some of them might be a little bit smaller compared to the average Bigfoot. So instead of the 7 to 10 foot tall range, they might be only 5 to 6 feet tall. and on some occasions, you don't often see this very often, but there's, everybody's always described Bigfoot as either having black, brown, or reddish, or sometimes once in a while, gray hair. Once in a while, you'll usually see one that may have white hair or yellowish hair, which is
beige.
Kind of like a beige color. I mean, I don't know if it has anything to do with if it has like albinism, if it's suffering from that, if it's like a condition, but once in a while you'll see that kind. And also, contrary to popular belief, like in the case with the Yeti, it's never, despite its art interpretations, it's not actually white in color. It's often described to being brown in color. They just use that to kind of, it might have a whitish appearance if it's like covered in snow and ice, but sorry, I see your cat is right in the way.
I know, I'm trying not to keep my eyes off it, John.
This is a good example. What colour would you say my cat is?
Black.
It looks black.
He's brown.
He's brown?
Wow,
really?
He's actually a black tabby, and in the sunlight you can see that he's actually got a brownish reddish tinge to him, and you can see the black spots and stripes on him. So this is a good example of what you were saying, Nick, how you can see it as this color, but actually it's another color.
That's amazing, actually. It's like how he's just constantly staring.
Oh, it's because
cat loves Nick.
He's staring at the pictographs that I showed earlier. That's all he's doing. He's looking at a piece of paper that he wants to go and rip up, but he's not ripping that up.
So I saw Robin ask a question saying if there's Bigfoot-like creatures in the UK. Honestly, to answer that question, and this is what a lot of cryptozoologists will often say, is Bigfoot-type creatures, they've been seen all around the world. I mean, you got the Himalayas, the Pamirs, different parts of China, Russia, Mongolia, even Japan, Indonesia, Malaysia. There have been some reports there. Indonesia, Malaysia, Australia, of course.
Scotland. Yeah,
even in Europe. So Scotland, the UK, parts of northern and southern Africa. There were reports from South America. Amazon has reports up and down the Andes Mountains. They have certain reports there. There's a few reports that have occurred in, Central America and Mexico. Canada especially has it, but the concentration. Ireland. Ireland's had them. But the concentration in this case, for the classic Bigfoot reports in the United States is mainly specifically pointing to the Pacific Northwest, and those states are California, Oregon, Washington State, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Alaska, and British Columbia.
Yeah. William has puck wedgies here. William, you know what you need to do with your wedgie? Pull it out! No, I'm only joking. William's based in Oregon. He lives in Oregon, so he's in the middle of everything. He's lucky.
He's in one of those states I just mentioned, so that's Bigfoot country over there.
Yeah, when I go over there next, I'm hoping to get over next year at some point to see them.
There is actually one other thing I forgot to answer for Lois's question. There was one other difference that I'm sure you guys will like hearing. When I mentioned about like the southern states, there was one other difference that you'll notice. And out of all the skunk ape type creatures that you see in the South, the one I mentioned, the Falk monster, is probably the best example. The difference about that creature was, first off, it was a little bit too close for comfort because it was seen most frequently back in the 60s and 70s. The best way to describe it, like at first you'd think it would be just a normal one, that it was a tall, hairy, bipedal animal that was seen around people's houses in very rural Arkansas, pretty much near the Texas border. The one difference about this one is down there, they reported some of the most unusual tracks that you don't really see anywhere else. Down there, they were reporting three-toed tracks that the Falk monster supposedly had left. So that's another difference, too, is in the Pacific Northwest, you have the classic five-toed prints, but in the South, they get the five-toed tracks, too, sometimes, but down there, a lot of times they get six-toed, four-toed, or even three-toed tracks.
Yeah. I'm just counting the amount of toes and the amount of fingers I've got on my casts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got juvenile casts, you see. So the cast of the hands, so he had a pair because the hands grabbed onto something to pull itself up, so they were able to get the casts. And it was seen while they were taking casts of the feet. This thing came back, and the man who was taking the footprint cast saw him climbing up on this thing. So he went over there and he took casts of the hands. It was just amazing.
Wow.
But anyway,
Oh, wow.
but it was a juvenile. So yes, the hand is big, but it's small in comparison to some of the Bigfoot casts that they had there from Kentucky. Now these casts of one hand, I kid you not, was this
Oh, they're
fat.
big.
Yeah,
Huge.
massive, isn't they?
Yeah,
Because
that's
he said, well, you know, do you want to take this home? And I went, I've got to get it in my suitcase and it might smash. I said, that's not going in hand luggage.
see, that's another classic Southern Bigfoot right there. A big difference down there in Kentucky. They have it's over there known as the hillbilly beast or the Geneva Giants. So
Yeah.
looks like you got a track of the hillbilly beast.
Oh,
Hillbilly beast.
William's got to go.
Bye, William.
Thanks, William.
Take
Thanks
care.
for popping
Bye.
in. Oh, I love that man.
Bye.
I love that man. He's my brother from another mother.
Do you guys mind if I
Yeah.
share the screen quickly just to give you guys an idea of what a
Go on.
three-toe track looks
Oh,
like?
No,
yeah,
mate, crack
can
on.
Yeah.
Go on, go on.
Okay, give me 1 second here. I just opened it up and I don't know where it went. It's only...
That's
Sorry.
my Mrs. Doyle advert. Go on, Nick. Would you like a cup of tea? Go on.
Okay, here we go. So
After the
here's
show, is it okay if I could PM you, Nick?
yeah, sure. You can message me whenever. So here is basically an example of what the Falk Monster track would look like, a three-toe track. This is the actual photo of one of the tracks that was found in a soybean field.
Bloody hell.
That was back in June. That was back in June of 1971, and they made an actual cast of it later on. So I know it's a little bit hard to see in the picture, but you can clearly see.
Yeah.
Basically, instead of 5 toes, the third one's kind of obscured, but you see
But
3 toes instead of 5.
You can see the imprint, like the heel-toe imprint where it's actually walked. So you can see the indentations where it's actually put pressure in and walked.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I find amazing about these things.
Now, I don't know if you guys notice this on the info. Unfortunately, since this is the original cast right here to the right, unfortunately, it says that the original cast was destroyed in a fire at the Boggy Creek Cafe in the late 1970s. But the good part is, even though it was destroyed, at least we got photographs.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
now, of course, understandably, some people are going to, there are skeptics about the theory that these tracks could most likely be fake because, yes, it's true. I mean, the Falk Monster is a hominid primate, Bigfoot type creature, and all apes, hominids, and primates, past and present, all have had 5 toes. There's no indication, or there has been no evidence whatsoever that there's ever been any type of apes, hominids, or primates that have ever only had 3 toes. It's always been documented as 5. So maybe it's a new species of ape that we haven't discovered yet.
I counted them. There's 5.
You counted 5?
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Wow, that's a cool track.
This is Grays Harbor in Washington. This was taken in 1982.
Oh, what? I think I know that site. Wasn't that the one that was captured on video too?
Yeah, this is the cast of one of the tracks there at Grays Harbor.
Wow.
See, I thought I had problems with size 10.5. I've got the Bigfoot's got a lot more than me.
Actually, I'll get my shoe out. So this is my foot. I'm a size 6. I'm a size 6. So if you compare, so I'm a size 6.
Holy cow!
Hang on, let me just turn it around so you can see. That's at the end. Okay, so that's my foot.
That is big.
And
massive, isn't it?
This is a juvenile apparently.
What? A juvenile?
Really?
This is a juvenile's print, yeah.
If that is a juvenile, I would take to see full-grown adult.
Yeah, Dan's one is slightly bigger and fatter than my one, but his one came from Oregon. This one is Grays Harbor in Washington. And you can see when you said about the toes, they're normally five
Yeah, it
toes.
has the classic five toes.
Five
Yeah.
toes.
Mm.
And yeah, it's quite interesting.
That's
Yeah,
really
definitely.
fascinating.
So that's my Bigfoot cast of my foot.
I'm hoping one day to go down to like Falk, Arkansas, and get a 3-toe track, because that's
Oh,
something
that's
you just don't see that very often.
No.
You really don't.
And there's my hand.
Holy God.
Wow.
So it's not just about the feet; it's about everything else that they leave behind as well. So my hand, I suppose it could fit in there quite happily. But yeah, this is a juvenile's hand, and this one was Kentucky. This came out of Kentucky, but that's small, very small in comparison to some of the hands that I've seen. And I'm thinking about what can I get in my suitcase to bring back home with me that customs won't make a big deal out of. And
Yeah.
they didn't. I got this one in my suitcase, but the foot I had to put in my hand luggage, and they did snag me at TSA. What is this? They sort of, is this your bag, ma'am? Yes. And they pull it out. They said, "What is this?" I went, "It's a Bigfoot cast." "A what?" They went, "A what?" "It's a Bigfoot cast." "A what?" And I said, "Sasquatch." Went, "Oh, right." And she says, "Can I open it?" So she just peered through the side, because apparently it's very similar to Semtex. It comes up on the X-rays or something. So
Semtex, yeah.
But I find them fascinating, just even with the footprints, whether they're 3-toed or whatever they are with the foot, because you can see the pattern that it's taken when it's actually walked. So you can see where it indents into the mud.
Like heel down first, isn't it? Heel on foot, or the other way around.
That fleshy part of the foot that we have on our foot that sticks out a bit more. When you leave a footprint, you'll notice that part. It's the same with these, with Sasquatch. They do the same. It's exactly the same. But yeah, he signed the back for me. He's a very nice man.
I'm going to show one more. I'm going to show one more picture of one more cat, if you guys don't mind. And this is actually
now do it. I love it. I love it.
This is going to be the one of the Louisiana swamp monster, a Honey Island swamp monster.
Yes.
Now, one difference about this creature, this track is very bizarre. They are in Louisiana. They're described as 4 webbed They're like 4 web-toed tracks. It's like
web-toed. Wow.
Because here's the thing: the one thing that kind of separates the Honey Island swamp monster from the other Bigfoots is that it's said to actually not only just be part ape, but also supposedly part alligator. They, like, for example, its yellow amber eyes are said to be reptilian in appearance.
Really?
But the tracks are even more bizarre. So I'll get the picture. I'm going to get the picture ready right here. Oh wait, hang on a second. This is the here's the actual track, if you guys can see it.
Yeah, it looks like an alligator foot as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can see in
like
this case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I can't go because it just zooms in. But yeah, you can see 3 tracks, and then you see like almost like a thumb right here.
Like a lump. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're actually smaller, by the way, by appearance. They are, from what I heard, they are roughly 50% smaller than the average large Bigfoot, classic Bigfoot tracks. So, but yeah, they leave 4 web-toed tracks instead.
Are they bipedal as well?
Yeah, they're bipedal. And there's, I'm going to stop the screen for just a second. There is actually film footage of this monster, because the story goes was that there was a guy by the name of Harlan Ford. He was a retired air traffic controller. And back in 1963, he was hunting out in the Honey Island swamps with a partner of his. And they came across another path. And all of a sudden, they saw this huge creature kneeling over the body of a dead wild boar with its throat that had just torn out. They described it as being about 7 foot tall, covered in gray hair, with longer hair covering its head. And this was in broad daylight, by the way. So as soon as one of them made a noise, this creature turned over, and they said it had the most bizarre facial features. It had these, first off, it had these claws. It had kind of like an ape-like face. But the one thing Harlan Ford had said, sadly, Harlan Ford passed away back in 1980. But the one thing he said he would always remember from that creature was its eyes, its yellow amber reptilian looking eyes that were set far apart on its skull, which immediately after seeing them, it stood up and ran out into the swamp.
Whoa.
And then it was like from that point on, Harlan Ford would just spend the rest of his life trying to hunt for this creature, and he came across those tracks. It would take almost about another 10 years before he would see it, because then almost 10 years later, it was 1974 when Harlan Ford was out hunting, and he came across more of those tracks. But this time, he brought a movie camera with him. And all of a sudden, he starts hearing this noise in the background, and I got the footage. Right, I thought this was the footage. Hang on, where is it? Oh wait, I think this might be it. Yeah, this is you know what? This is the actual footage that was released by his daughter, Dana Hollyfield, who has since kind of taken over his father's role. So I'm going to get the screen up and present the footage. It's going to be a little bit hard to see, but I'll replay it for you guys several times.
Okay.
So this is the actual footage that was by Harlan Ford in 1974. Well, yeah. Actually, I don't even know if it was 1974, but it was the late 1970s. So I'm going to fast forward.
Oh,
that's a bird.
No, okay. I was going to say, I'm going to fast forward just a little bit of this because it's just nothing but for, just normal footage. Now this is where he gets to the Honey Island Swamp.
It's pretty.
So, yeah, it's beautiful in that area, but he had no idea that this thing was going to appear. So he brought it just in case. So he didn't have this fully planned. He just had this just to be sure this thing appeared. I'm gonna fast. Oh wait, hang on.
There he is.
What's that?
No, that's a bird. I'm sorry, that's not. Okay, here we go. Here it is. Here we go. Now look carefully. Do you guys see something moving?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh
I'll
my
play it
God.
for you guys again.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'll play it for you guys again, and this time I'll put the cursor on so those who didn't see it. See, you can see it right over there.
There he is there, yeah. Is there.
And he
They've got big shoulder muscles, haven't they?
Yeah.
Look, it's just standing there. It's just...
And I mean, obviously the appearance of it is brief, but that was something that he was really excited of catching. And all these years that he was hunting for the Honey Island Swamp Monster, he actually never told anybody else about this other than his daughter Dana, who was just a child at the time, because he was afraid that if he told anybody else, because you have to remember, in Louisiana, that's hunting country in that area.
They love hunting, don't they?
Yeah, he was afraid that if the other Cajuns and hunters found out about it, that they would go out and shoot and kill it, which in spite of its terrifying appearance, it never actually really harmed him or anyone else. So he got that footage. He kept that footage to himself until the day he died. And then it was only a couple of years ago that his daughter had found it, and it has since been featured on documentaries. It's been on, obviously it's now released on her own channel. It's all over the place.
Right. We've got some bits in the chat. Right, let's see. So, giblets and scallywags. No, we know why they don't call it a little foot. Am I right? Bigfoot is known to be a fucking mud bogger.
I take it that's politeness for the F word.
Yeah.
Now, where do we sit with the moth man round here? And why do Bigfoot not show up in the UK? Well, actually, they do.
They do.
And this year alone, we've had a record amount of sightings this year, this summer, just gone. And more recently, there's been sightings over here. So, yeah, and it's not just in the UK. We have them in Scotland and in Ireland as well. So, yeah, they are seen everywhere. And people seem to think interdimensional, maybe. We don't know.
His first two comments is kind of like, oh, hi, Brian.
Yeah,
it's kind of caught my eye.
I didn't show them because I think that was a bit rude.
Yeah, I was actually having to read it to make sure I was reading properly. There, I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah, I read them a couple of times, and I thought, well, we got some questions, and I thought, no, this is supposed to be a family show, so no, I can't show them
come back in a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Friday night
on a
before
Friday
we
night.
or something.
Yeah.
Hi, Bri, how you doing? But yeah, I mean, I listened to you guys today. You know shit tons more than I know on it, and I listen to you guys, and I could sit here and listen to you all night talk about it because it is a really interesting subject.
I was lucky enough to purchase a couple of books. Now these are my Bibles, and I think I've shown them before. I keep this one wrapped in plastic because this is special.
Oh, Oregon Bigfoot Highway. Check that out.
So this actually gives you some inside knowledge of Bigfoot, migration patterns, where they've been seen, where they've been documented, and it's also been signed by one of the authors.
That's awesome.
So I believe, is it Cliff Olson has signed this? I don't even know who he is. No, it's the other one. Joe Beelart signed my book. But I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of research into different people's sightings, and I must admit, and please forgive me, if I'm seem a bit ignorant, but the Kentucky sightings, where people, just go out off the beaten track, we look at them, we say, oh, what's that hillbilly doing there? And you shouldn't use that word because it's not very nice, but and it's those people that are finding so much and are doing so much, because they'll take the casts, they'll go out and they'll sit in the forest on their own, as I said before. Not that I would recommend it in case you get eaten alive by bears or whatever it is that you have out there, because we don't have those sort of creatures here. This one, it's got the glowing yellow eyes, similar to what you've mentioned. But a lot of people that have witnessed Bigfoot say that the eyes glow red.
Yes.
So I find that's interesting as well. So you've got yellow eyes. Here it's depicted as yellow eyes, but actually people are saying when they've seen them that they see glowing red eyes. I find that fascinating. But one thing I found quite interesting is I spoke to a guy, and he had an experience with Bigfoot when he was in his teens. And he said he was in California, somewhere in California, didn't tell me the exact place. And he drove to a desolate spot known as Lover's Lane. And nearby there was some, what would you call it? Like not a lake, but like a man-made reservoir type places. There's gravel and it's got
kind of like a creek almost.
Yeah. So he was in the car park with his girlfriend doing a bit of jiggy, and he had his back to the windscreen. So he's obviously seeing to his girlfriend. And then she starts screaming and getting really scared. It's like, what the hell? So he's jumped up and seen these glowing red eyes staring at him from just outside the car. And so he jumps out of the car, makes himself decent. And this thing, he said, is standing there staring at me. And he said it could have been just a couple of seconds, but it seemed like an age. He was staring right into its face. He could see the face, describe the eyes, the cone-shaped head, big massive shoulders. He said the muscles on this was tremendous. I said, how far away from it were you? 6 foot. 6 foot. That close.
Wow.
And I said, what did you do then? He said, I was just staring at it because it's obviously been standing there watching me, do what I do, what I did. He said, and all of a sudden it turned. And then he said his reaction was to chase it. And he said 2 steps and it was gone out of sight. He said, honestly, I couldn't keep up with it. and he said I was a fit, fast guy. He said, but I heard gravel falling, and then I heard a splash. And he said, and I was on the spot in literally seconds. He said, and there was no ripples in the water, there was no bubbles. It's as though it slid down the bank, had gone into this river, and I was thinking I might see something swimming away. He said there was nothing. He said it's like it hit that water, gone.
Wow.
I mean, he's a brave guy for even trying to face a Bigfoot, you know, but I suppose I've never heard of a dog in watching Bigfoot, you know, but there you go. Every day is a school day.
Yeah,
That's
it's just amazing, absolutely amazing. I was just blown away when he told me he actually chased one. I said, did you catch it? He went, I wish. He said, no. He said, this thing is bam, it's gone. He said, but I felt quite annoyed. He said, because it was like it was standing there watching what we were doing. He said she was a hysterical in the car, and it ruined their relationship. That was it.
Wow.
Ex-girlfriend after that. But yeah, she. Can you imagine?
It's funny how you mentioned that, actually, because you know how I mentioned about like the big muddy monster. It sounds like a similar story because it actually happened just like that with the one we had in Illinois. This was back in the early 70s, but
Yeah.
the difference was it was actually crazier because it was actually two people, one of which was in his late teens. They were like 19, 20 years old, and again, who knows what they're doing out there on one night. But here's the thing. They were married, but not to each other. So they're going out by the big muddy river. They're going out by the big muddy river doing what you think they are. And all of a sudden, they hear this loud wail that comes from the river, and they see this hulk of a beast rise up. It was like 7 feet tall. It was covered with all this mud. The color of it was white, actually, but it was all covered in mud. It just stank horribly. But the one thing that they couldn't actually even see much of its face, it was because it was covered by its, face by mud and hair. But the only facial feature that they did see was that too had glowing red eyes. And the only difference in the end of that case, the guy didn't run to chase after it. He just put the pedal to the metal and darted out of that area.
I mean, can you imagine they two going home to their other halves and saying, and how was your night, dear? Don't ask. Just don't ask.
Well, they had to get, to make matters worse, they had to get the authorities involved. So that was kind of hard to keep the relationship a secret after that.
I know. You can imagine like the authorities, and what were you two doing there at that time of night? It was like, just a bit of research,
Yeah. Well, what's even funnier, the officers later showed up to that same area like an hour after their first encounter, and when they went back down to investigate, they actually heard the roars of this creature. Apparently, it was still nearby, and it scared the officers so bad that one of them dropped his gun and didn't want to go back to go get it. He was that terrified.
I'm just answering David Birch for Oregon.
Yeah.
He says, I know there's Bigfoot in my woods. I keep finding footprints. Who can I contact to document these? So I've told him to contact the North American Bigfoot Center. They're based in Boring in Oregon. I'm just going to put the telephone number up so he has the telephone number as well.
Do you know what? I actually thought that looks to me like Boring, Oregon. I was like,
it's called Boring. It is called Boring.
We got some crazy names. We got a couple crazy names in our country.
Listen, Nick, I'm still trying to get used to your time zones and how far. I had a grasp until I had to do a show with Rosie in January when we talked about Ted Bundy. And me and Jacqueline were possessed that the show was going to be 10 o'clock, but here it wasn't. It was 11 to 12.
Wow.
So, David, I hope that helps. I'll put a telephone number up there as well. So they also go out, they document, they're still researching. I know that he is, but it's interesting.
I think we had Cliff at the Michigan Paracon. I think he was taking part in that. Unfortunately, because there was a lot of people, I didn't really have enough time to really chat with him. But because I know he's also part of this too, is we actually about 2 years ago we actually had Bobo from Finding Bigfoot come out,
yeah.
and really nice guy. He has a great sense of humor. He was actually nice enough to give me his email, so I'm actually hoping to try to bring him on to some of these shows because I think he would be a great guest.
Oh, do you know what? Bobo is one of these guys. Love him or hate him, I love him.
Yeah, I do
love
too.
him.
After meeting him, I met him.
He's very, very clever.
Yes.
It's like Cliff as well. Cliff on the shows, they're very, very unassuming people. And you look at them and think, oh, yeah, whatever. But Cliff, I have a lot of respect for that man. A lot of respect. I watched some footage that he showed at the museum where he went out. There was claims of Bigfoot sighting. He got called out, so he went out and he was looking for prints. Now, all I saw was a flattened bit of grass. I didn't see any footprint. He went, there's a footprint there, cleared the grass, did the cast, and I thought, blimey, I would never have noticed that. He was straight on it. Yeah, there's a footprint there. I need to cast it now. So he did it there and then. I was just blown away by that. So David says, okay, awesome. I just wrote it down. If I become elected, I will assign a team to track these beasts down. Do you know what? He's already been tracking and still tracking. And there's been a lot of sightings in Oregon that he's aware of. And he does go out quite a lot. But yes, he's then we can get some concrete proof and hopefully bring one for scientific dissection. I don't know about that. I just think, live and let live.
Yeah.
He's actually got the Bigfoot hair in his museum, and it's fascinating because from one piece of hair, it shows you under the microscope. They've got the microscope there with the hair in it. You can see inside a hair, there is like a tube or a line.
Yep.
Which determines the animal or the species it came from. It has a human one, which has got a thicker tube in there. Then it's got this animal, that animal. It shows you the Bigfoot hair that they've actually got, and there's no tube in it. It's unidentified, which I think is amazing that he's actually got it in his museum. Is it physical evidence? Some people will argue, well, no, that could be just a creature, something that's unidentified at the minute. Could be anything, but it could be Bigfoot. We don't know.
Very well, good.
As you say, there's things in the paranormal that should be live and let live, and it is Bigfoot is one of the things. I mean, back then, I'm sure people weren't running about trying to grab dinosaurs and.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've always been kind of the same thing too. I've never really have been with the idea because. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a show that aired that only lasted for one season because I think a lot of people didn't like it. It was a show called Killing Bigfoot, which was dealing with a group down in Louisiana. Apparently, in some states, I don't know if it's changed since then because this was like back in 2000, like about 5 years ago. They apparently said in some like the southern states, all the way up to like Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, that you could actually go out and shoot these things. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, unfortunately, they did have some people who supported them. But from what I've seen is that even down in the South, most people were highly against it. They didn't want these because they actually, as I said, this group kind of actually made an idiot of themselves because they went to a Bigfoot conference that they were having up in Oklahoma, and they were going about trying to, kill them, and there was a lot of people yelling back at them. I mean, I don't know how they weren't able to give up.
But like David makes a point here, right? And he says, if we can get it alive, I definitely would put that thing into captivity, charge money for people to come and see it. And then he put, it would be great for the Oregon economy. This is what it's all about, money.
Yeah.
Money.
I don't agree with it. Sorry,
No.
David. I don't mean this disrespectfully, but that's almost like turning around and saying that, like, I know I'm a big animal lover. I really am a big animal lover. Like Dan. But that's almost like trying to keep like wild tigers and things in that in captivity when these obviously animals belong in the wild. I don't agree with it at all. I
No.
could get David's understanding for why it would be good for business and the economy, but at the same time, you can't take something that's wild and lock it into a cage and expect it to be like to be able to like survive, if that's the right word for it.
What's wrong with just sitting down, getting a table, having you're going to have a massive tea set because the cups that it would drink out of, and just sit down and have an English cup of tea with scones. You could have a few scones. You'd have to have a massive scone for Bigfoot. I mean, once he's tasted clotted cream and jam, there'll just be no going back for him. But just sitting down, having a nice afternoon with Bigfoot. If he could communicate with you while he's drinking his tea, brilliant, but that's not a problem or an issue. And just being in their presence. And then when he's finished, if he wants to get up and leave, then great. If he wants to come back next week for another cup of tea, let's do it again. What's wrong with that?
I don't see why you just don't. There was a documentary years ago. It was a film, and I can always remember my mum had it. The video, I think was it called Gorillas in the Mist, I think it was called.
Yeah,
and it's when they actually went into the jungle to communicate with obviously like the gorillas. Sorry if you can hear the background noise. My sister's as loud as a foghorn. But obviously, why not have that sort of sense for them instead of try to capture them?
Yeah. No, Bryce made a good point here. The intelligence involved here yet again suggests that they are beneath us. They're obviously more intelligent than us. I agree with that, Bri, which is why they should never be captured. Because if they do have the ability to cloak, that cloaking thing, and the smell that they put out, it's actually quite bad. The smell, people have ended up in hospital because of the smell. That is actually a weapon, and it's a weapon that we should never ever been given the secrets of that. Cloaking could be used against it, not just it, but everybody else and our fellow man. And then this ability to secrete this really bad smell that could debilitate a person. Again, that is a biological weapon, which I just don't think we should not have our hands on it at all as man.
You have to remember too, when it comes to Bigfoot, and this is all for those, like for people who want to hunt and cage it, or like I said, on some of the rare occasions where they want to kill it, it's like some people forget the fact that these creatures have been around for thousands of years, if not probably longer than we have been. I mean, I honestly think they're creatures that date back even before our modern, version of a human. So it's like some people don't seem to understand the fact that these creatures were here first, long before we ever showed up. Yeah. So, that's why it's just best to just leave. I mean, it's one thing, for example, if someone actually came across like a carcass or a dead body or supposedly bones. That's one thing. I'm thinking, well, if you actually come across something like that, that's the holy grail then. But if it's one that's alive, I'd leave it alone immediately. Yeah. Don't even bother, because it's no wonder why we don't see them very often, and it's no wonder why we're often given that theory that they're as scary as it is for some people are afraid of them when they see one. The reality is they're probably more scared to death of us.
Yeah. David says humanity by far is my number one priority, which is why we should leave them alone. And anyway, I believe that your military already has had a dead body. They already know about it. They've already dissected one. They've already done the nasty thing and gunned the thing down for no reason at all. I think that, your government are hiding a lot of secrets, not just the UFO thing, but the cryptid side as well. And I just think it's best just left alone. We don't need to interfere.
Yeah. There was one account I remember. Hey, what's up, Carl? Good to see you. There was one account I did remember hearing. This was featured on the show Monsters and Mysteries in America. Again, up in like Oregon or Washington. There was a guy who was out with his hunting partner, and he saw apparently what was a Bigfoot, but then as he started following it, and as he got closer, he realized there was another one right next to the first one, and before he knew it, there were also 2 additional smaller ones. So on a rare occasion, he came across an entire family of Bigfoots. But as amazing as it sounds, unfortunately, and I'm even when I get mad even thinking about this,
the military thing.
Yeah, well, he does the unthinkable. He thought, if I can't, get rid of this and like kill it or whatever, no one's going to believe me. So he ended up shooting one, which the first one I think was only injured. So it managed to escape. And when it shot the second, this time it shot one of the smaller ones. And he came up to it and he noticed its features. He just noticed not only did it have the ape-like appearance, he just knew that it had very, very human-like features. It actually looked at him in the eyes as if to say, why did you shoot me? Why did you hurt me? And then it died right there. And that's when he realized he shot and killed one of them. He actually contacted a Bigfoot company after that, and then they told him to track it down, like find it for him, which by then that's when guilt started settling in with him, which I think, you know what? He should be ashamed for what he did. Because that's, in my opinion, that's animal cruelty right there. They may be
that
they may
goes
not
back
be verified. Sorry, Lois, go ahead.
No, on you go, my love.
I was going to say, they may not be verified creatures, but just like anything else, they're still animals. They're still living organisms. So that's animal cruelty. And when he went back basically to go look for the one that he shot, as a lot of cases, he couldn't find the body. And he actually decided that it was probably best to basically get the hell out of there, because if the others knew that he shot and killed one of their children, if you will, they were probably out hunting for him, probably going to kill him if he stayed. No joke.
Yeah.
So it's an incredible story, but it's just absolutely, that was a senseless killing that he committed.
Can I answer this question? Can I answer this question from David?
Go ahead. I really like to answer the question, but it's not got to come out nice from my mouth.
Yeah, well, is shooting a deer animal cruelty? Yes, if it's done for sport. If you're shooting a deer to eat, to put in your freezer and to stain your family for the rest of that year, then no. But if you're shooting that deer for sport, then I say yes.
Yes, I do as well.
Go on, Lois, you answer.
Yeah, you were going to say something, Lois?
Going back to obviously what Nick said, obviously this guy killing a child Bigfoot, it's like killing a child, isn't it, really? When you're just, it's
murder. It's murder.
It is, and I've got heavy views about this, right? But I would love to see a Bigfoot decide one day, you know what, fuck this, I'm fed up of getting shot. Why don't we just get guns and shoot the humans? And do you know what?
Yep.
That's surely what they deserve. When talking about deer, animal cruelty, I don't like it at all. And if Dan was here, I feel like I'm overtaking Dan with the animal. There's that Dan side of me that's coming across, and I know if the big guy was here and they read it, he would have strong.
Yeah, you can look at both sides, really, can't you? With obviously, because deer can do. I know they're an animal. They can make a lot of. So if you got a farm, and your livelihood is the wheat, the barley, the rape, anything else, corn, they animals do cause absolute carnage. And I know I'm probably looking at the same thing as everyone else. Yes, if it's destroying your crops, then yeah. But if you're going to eat it as well, that's fair enough. But like Viv said, if you're going to use it for hang up on your mantelpiece, it's not fair. Well, but they are a.
There are humane ways though to scare off animals.
Yeah, you can do.
There is.
Yeah.
That's what they in the show. Like I said, the show Killing Bigfoot, because there was one guy, one Bigfoot expert who was like against this. I'm actually friends with him because he and I have the same views. He said, and he was trying to convince some of these locals, saying, you guys got guns. I'm not telling you to shoot it. If you just fire a warning shot or something, that will scare them off and they'll never come back again. Use the gun, but don't don't just use it as a warning shot. You know, make a loud noise and they'll never come back. Just don't shoot them.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, it's just unfortunate because people are just doing this for money. And like you guys said, it talks so like, you know, how animals are safe. Man wanted to eat. Oh,
No.
I'm not
No.
even answering.
Sorry,
I'm
Dave.
not
No,
even-
David. Sorry.
I'm
See?
definitely. I'm not even answering that because I can feel myself getting narky.
That's
Yeah.
getting silly. That's just getting silly because if he killed the baby Bigfoot and then he walked away from it, so that
Yeah, it's like,
nah.
and then coming back, it's kind of like, you know, returning to the scene of the crime, if you will. In fact,
Yeah.
I've done some research about, because when the show Killing Bigfoot came out, I was very concerned about were they going to start heading up to the Pacific Northwest, because again, that's the most notorious area. Well, from what I've seen, and I'm sorry to say this for David, but I found out in the Pacific Northwestern states, they say they actually did make it illegal to kill any of those type of creatures up in that area. So in that show, that's why you never see them go up to California, Oregon, or Washington, because it's outlawed over there. They can only do it in Louisiana and Texas, which it sounds like to me a lot of people, I think more people are against it than those that are. So I think they're trying to, in my opinion, probably trying to put a similar law like that for the South.
Wouldn't it be better if they brought this into the schools to educate our youngsters?
Oh,
So
yes.
using it in biology lessons, talking about this unknown species that's been seen, this uncategorized species, having a respect for it, learning it in a decent way, rather than these. I'm sorry, but I'm going to call them idiots because I can. That just want to go out with a gun and shoot anything that moves. And that's not all right. You know, let's do it. Let's educate people. Even I would sit in a classroom and want to learn about it. I just think it's absolutely fascinating. I'd make that my niche thing. You know, go and look at the biodiversity of where it lives. You know, just try and understand like other people have done before me and will do after me. It's all down to education. And if people are not being educated, this is what they do. They reach for a gun first thing.
Yep. I mean, I agree with you on that about teaching it, because, you know, I think we've all experienced it growing up in schools. I mean, I think we've all learned about how human evolution began, you know, in science classes. So why not do the same basically for Bigfoot in this case, or if you want to call it what apparently, well, its ancestor, Gigantopithecus, because it's really no different. Because you have to think, when it comes to human evolution, right around that same time, there was other species of apes that developed that may have not had any connection to us at all, but developed into their own species.
Okay. So David's got a valid point. I'm trying to feel out your morals here. Why do you get to pick and choose what is ethical to eat and what isn't? Okay, so David, I'm going to ask you a question. If you accidentally shot a man, would you think it would be ethical to eat a fellow man?
Yeah.
That actually was going to come in my mind. That's because when I read that, actually what came in my mind was the plane crash. I can't even remember what year it was, and the survivors, it got made into a film where the survivors actually ate other plane people.
That was in 1972.
You can eat what you like. It doesn't matter what you eat. I mean, in China, they're eating bats that they blamed COVID for. You know, in the wet markets. In I think it's in Peru, they eat guinea pigs. You know, we keep them as pets. I'd never eat a guinea pig, but they eat them. That's fine. I've tasted snake, alligator, crocodile, whatever. You know, you can eat what you like. But if you're shooting something to eat, then fine. But if you're shooting something just for the sake of shooting it, for, you know, just because I'm a hunter and it's manly to shoot things, and then I just leave them there, then no, it's not ethical. You know, if you're shooting something to feed yourself, your family, whatever, then I think then that's fine because you're shooting for a reason. But don't leave anything injured. You know, this is where I get a bit peed off.
Yeah, definitely.
Lois, to answer, because I heard you say you forgot, it was Air Force Flight 571. That was back in 1970. Yeah, 1972. Yeah, it was 1972, and yeah, there was cannibalism involved for that. But the difference was the reason why they did that is because they didn't have a choice, because they
Yeah.
were miles away. They were in the Andes Mountains. They were miles away, and they didn't even really think they were going to survive, even if they did this. So it was really survival of the fittest. I mean, that was something that they didn't want to do to begin with. This was not planned. They had no choice.
That was a really interesting film, Nick. That was a really interesting one.
Didn't they eat the dead? They didn't kill to eat.
No,
they
only
ate the dead.
They only ate the dead. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could. I'd eat my cat. You've seen my cat. If my cat died and I was hungry, I would eat my cat, as much as it would upset me, and use his fur to keep me warm if I needed that, because it was freezing and cold in order for me to survive. But I don't think I could kill it to eat it.
Right.
But if it died, I could eat it. That's just me.
It's like my sister, what my sister says, right? Because my cat is, I must admit, I treat my cat like a human and like a child, and I do spoil her and pamper her. And my sister will always say to me, I don't know why you treat her like that, Louise, because at the end of the day, if you died, she would eat you if she was hungry. And I'm like, she would not. She would be, oh, my mum.
Would, yeah. Bryce says, I get everyone's argument here. Certain ethics will eat anything they can catch. In those cases, I think it's nature's cannibals exist. Yeah. I mean, it's like all animals need to eat to exist.
Right.
All living things. So, I don't know, these zoos, they'll only feed their big cats once the public goes home, because they don't want to see them all bloodied and all that sort of thing. But that's just what they do, But I think we're a little bit more educated than that. And for the name of just wanting to get rich and famous and making a fast buck, I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong.
There's one other thing you have to think about too when it comes to Bigfoot and the idea of them wanting to, kill it, is how do we not know that Bigfoot also may play a very important role in the environment? Because, it's, if you kind of look at something we all know, like, for example, with sharks, for example, people kill them almost every year because they want to supposedly make them safe, these oceans safer, or for sport or have trophies. Well, they don't seem to realize that killing sharks to make beaches safer, that's completely false, because in that case, all you're doing is just removing something from the ocean's environment that is desperately needed to keep the ocean healthy. And if you get rid of all the sharks, that's going to have disastrous results, because they're like the hunters of the ocean. They keep our seal and fish populations, at a good manageable rate. And if the sharks are gone, that's going to destroy the entire ecosystem.
But it's when they get overpopulated, like
that's
so like in Florida, in the Everglades, or down not near the Everglades, you have to have a license to go and kill the alligators.
Right.
And then
only during certain seasons, isn't it? But
that's right.
Again, I'm against that, because nature's put them there for a reason. I mean, look at some of the animals that are nearing extinction.
Exactly.
Or now, and we are messing with Earth's ecology and the ecosystem itself. Take one species out and then eliminate them forever.
Exactly.
Then what's next? Then those animals cannot evolve, because we're evolving, and the animals are evolving all the time. So we are messing with things that we shouldn't be. We're upsetting the balance of Earth.
We are.
Do you know what I really admire about sharks, and and it is scientifically true, and if it is true, then it would be breakthrough for Alzheimer's and dementia. They're curious to why sharks' brains never ever age. They never ever age, and I think for the cure, and this is like they have discussed this. They're wondering if the cure to dementia and Alzheimer's could be actually through a shark.
Very well could be, because they can live up to like 50 years, and that's what I'm saying, is that it's like the same thing with sharks. How do we not know Bigfoot could have that same effect? Because again, if that's the case, once all the Bigfoots are gone, it won't be long before other things follow.
Yeah.
Yes, David, I would love to eat the unknown flavour. It could possibly eliminate world hunger if done correctly. I get that. I think that's just personal curiosity. I don't
Yeah.
think that eating a
Yeah.
Bigfoot is going to get rid
We're
of
just going
world
around in
hunger.
circles, really, aren't we?
Yeah.
To be fair.
My,
Well,
grand,
sorry, on you go.
my granddad was adamant that you never kill what you aren't willing to eat.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not know that Bigfoot? And I'm just throwing this totally out in the dark, but how do you not know that Bigfoot can be a cure of some diseases that humanity has?
I was thinking that cure for cancer, Bigfoot,
Yeah.
and what he'd never give it to us. All the while we're trying to kill him.
Yeah.
No.
We still haven't even verified like how long they're even known to live for, because we know they can get really big, but we can never fully determine exactly. I mean, we can sometimes determine by like their ages somehow, but we never really figured out like a full life expectancy of like how long can these creatures live for, because such the size of a large creature like that, you would honestly expect to see it not live for too long, because we have like, for example, we got like different sizes of dogs, basically. The smaller ones live the longest, the larger ones don't. So it makes me wonder, like with Bigfoot, can it live 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? But we still we have yet to have figured that out.
But what's their food source? Has that been, do they know what?
Deer, isn't it? Deer, elk, bears. It's known to eat bears and all sorts.
Well, they're actually, from what I've heard, they're said to actually be more omnivores. I guess again, it depends on the territory that they live in.
Yeah.
So in some versions, they might be plant eaters. They might eat fruits, vegetables. That I heard they've been known to eat berries sometimes.
Yeah.
Of course, sometimes like other wild animals, they are sometimes known to get in our food, like in garbage. Sometimes.
Yeah.
But
people have left stuff out in their yard for them, haven't they? Like apples and things like that.
Apples,
and they've eaten them, but they've brought stones and put them back into like a thank you present. I've heard.
Really?
Yeah, they put apples. There's even been times people have given them cookies, because apparently it sometimes has a sweet tooth as well. So you got like some areas like that, while other areas they're probably more carnivorous. So sometimes they will probably go after deer. Never really heard too much as bears go, but I know they go after deer sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes other types of animals. I think they probably choose animals that are more smaller than them, but the way how they kill them is also bizarre. From what I've heard is when prior to consumption, they're sometimes known to twist the heads off the animals before
throw it out or something.
Yeah, that just seems to be kind of like their trademark. So it's a brutal kill, but at least they make it a quick kill.
It's a quick kill, isn't it? Yeah.
I wonder if the US, the US military or the US, I'm not going to call it government because it's higher than government, but the US are now making public these very top secret files containing UFO secrets.
Probably
and things like that.
Isn't it?
I wonder if they will release the info on the cryptids, like what they know already, what they've had already.
See, to be honest, I think it's going to be like I know I shouldn't really compare it, but I think it's going to be like a Area 51 sort of type thing. I think it's going to be prolonged. I don't think the American government would, never in our time of life and never in my son's time of life, I don't ever think that they'll ever disclose anything, because that's almost like the Vatican coming out and saying, do you want to come in and see all the secrets that we have in here? It's never going to happen.
Nick, I've got the Jar of Doom for next week.
Oh, wow, check that out.
Will you tell me when to stop?
I guess now.
God. So, I want you to pick a number. Number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4.
I think I'll probably go with number 3.
Okay,
so this is the right choice.
This is what we're talking about next week on the show. We will be talking about the Witchfinder General Matthew
Oh.
Hopkins.
Wow.
Oh, smashing.
That sounds
That's quite.
interesting.
It's not far from me.
I know. Dan's
You-
missed a great show this week.
He absolutely has. I must admit, when I came on here, I was a bit apprehensive because I don't, as I said, some of the subjects I can like tap into and say yeah, but like the Bigfoot user converted me to Bigfoot finder, because it's just that is such a fascinating subject, and I've got the biggest respect for Nick, like big time, and listening to him the night was just amazing.
Yeah. No, we love Nick.
I appreciate it.
Nick, next year, don't bother going on your conventions. You go and visit all these conventions all over the place. Don't bother.
Come to the UK.
Save your money, buy that ticket, come to the UK, stay with me. We'll take you up to Scotland. You can stay with Lois. You can see Scotland, England, and
Loch
then
Ness.
Jenny. You have to see
Yeah, in
Jenny as
Ireland,
well.
yeah.
Go and see Ireland. You don't have to worry about hotels. It's fine.
I already, actually, I was going to give you guys an update on that because we talked about that previously. I already just put together my passport, so I'm just waiting for it to show up. So
Right.
it's already on the way.
Cool.
Just don't have it yet, but it's coming though.
Nick, if I think if you came to Scotland, I'd keep you captured for myself because you're a walking, talking encyclopedia for me.
Yeah. And we've got a lot of rock gigs over here. We can take you to some rock pubs so you can take a break from the paranormal and the cryptids, and we can just rock out and get drunk. It's fine.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Can you imagine your mum when you get home off the airport and she comes to meet you in Chicago and your face is full of bruises and scratch marks and what the F happened to you? Oh, it's nothing, Mum. I was in a mosh pit. Don't worry.
Listen, Nick, once you go UK, you'll know why to go back.
Yeah.
You never know.
By the sounds of it, you're going to need at least 2 to 3 months over here. It's fine. We can sort it.
Yeah. I mean, I've been getting a lot more vacation time now, so that, maybe I could try to work something out.
You might come and decide you don't want to go back and never go home again. You might stay here, settle down here with that
would be awesome.
An English woman or an Irish woman or a Scottish woman, and
don't go Scottish. They're all mental, Nick. Keep running. Keep running.
Well, Lois, I don't think I've ever told you. I actually do have some Scottish ancestry myself. So
that's why I love talking to Americans, because the Americans and the Scots have got quite a close connection. I was actually talking about this to my man the other night, and I says every American I've ever met has been so fascinated with the Scottish accent. Like every year, without a shadow of a doubt, my friend always loves her birthday because I sing her happy birthday. I can't sing worth a shit, honestly. Like I could smash windows, but she just loves listening to the Scottish accent is singing happy birthday.
That's awesome.
On that note, we got to sing goodbye to everyone because we've run out of time. We've got literally seconds left. But yeah, check us out next week. We'll be back at things at 7:00, and we'll be talking about the Rich Finder General.
Well, we got tomorrow night on Wednesday night. What's going on Wednesday night?
Wednesday night on Simply Spooky, we'll be talking to Luke. I can't remember his name. Luke Tamblate. I can't remember.
That's the guy that looks like Leonard Skinner.
Yeah, it does.
Brilliant.
But yeah, check us out on Simply Spooky and next week on Things, and hopefully we'll have Dan with us then. So take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.